Lamar Jackson tested positive for COVID-19 ahead of the Ravens training camp. John Harbaugh made that announcement about the former NFL MVP ahead of their first practice Wednesday. Jackson joins teammate J.K. Dobbins in protocol. This is the second positive test for Lamar, who also found himself in this situation last year. Here's the head coach on the situation his team is facing right now.
I can tell you generally, we're doing really well in terms of vaccinations and in terms of positive tests. Beyond that, we have no other positive tests. Even Lamar tested negative up until, so it's just part of the deal. It's just the way the world is right now. And we have 90% vaccinated, and I think we're going to go above that too real soon here. So we're in really great shape with the vaccinations. So that's where we're at with it.
Let's say good morning to senior NFL insider Jason La Canfora, who's at Ravens camp. Jason, what more can you tell us about the Jackson positive test and how the team is dealing with it?
Well, look, everybody's putting the most positive spin on it they possibly can. John Harbaugh talked about it being a blessing to be able to look at some of their backup quarterbacks and sort of assess their depth. But in reality, this is very suboptimal. He's going to miss at least 10 games because 10 days because he hasn't been vaccinated to this point. And they're doing a lot of new things on offense, Tommy. There's a new center. Center exchange was a big problem last year. There were 2 bad snaps at practice yesterday. So you want Lamar to be with Bradley Bozeman, and they're talking about putting Lamar under center more and not exclusively in the shotgun or the pistol. So, yeah, you want to use these 7 or so practices in the first 10 days to work on that. They drafted a receiver in the first round, a receiver in the 4th round. They added Sammy Watkins. They had a couple of young receivers from last year who barely played, in Prochet and Duvernay, who they want to get more out of. You want to see that with the starting quarterback. They're talking about throwing to J.K. Dobbins more and having him be a guy who could feature in all 3 downs in his second season as a running back in this league. Well, they were doing a lot of that yesterday, but it was the backup quarterbacks who were doing it and not Lamar. So scheme, personnel, personality, and then just that overarching leadership, of which still remains a young team, although they did add some older offensive linemen this year. But on offense, pretty young. You want your leader here. You want to see him evolve. You want him to be getting this hands-on daily coaching in the team concept that you got precious little of during the pandemic. So it's not great. We're not going to see Lamar around here for a while. And make no mistake, that is a lost opportunity.
You mentioned J.K. Dobbins. I brought up his name. I mentioned Gus Edwards, the teammate that's in protocol there with Lamar Jackson. But, Jason, you mentioned all of the things that they're trying to do, because there was a time coming off his NFL MVP season. There was the Kansas City Chiefs, and then it was like the Ravens, the Bills, maybe the Titans. What do you kind of rank them right now as they try to contend for that AFC crown?
Well, look, I think we all would agree Kansas City is the cream of the AFC. And then I have, in my mind, a sort of a second tier, Buffalo and Cleveland. And then a third tier with some of those teams nipping maybe at the heels of the teams in Tier 2. But that's where a Baltimore, a Tennessee, especially after Tennessee swung the Julio Jones trade. Some of those teams. So, yeah, they're some of the usual suspects if you look at last year and in some cases even the year before. But that's what I tend to think is the hierarchy of the AFC. I think Vegas would agree with me there. And that's not to say that the Ravens, at the end of the day, can't be the last team standing. But you mentioned the 2019 MVP season, and last year was supposed to be about adding more dynamic elements, more explosive elements in the downfield passing game, and being efficient passing to all quadrants of the field. We didn't see that. This year, there's even more emphasis on that with some new coaches coming in, guys like T. Martin, who have a college background, have been at the forefront of some of the evolution of spread passing offenses, and they want to get better in the horizontal passing game. Screens, flares, little kickouts to J.K. Dobbins and let him do some of the work with his legs that Lamar has typically done with his. But again, we're not going to see any of that until later in August.
All right, so your group in Cleveland in there. It's interesting because at William Hill, the Baltimore Ravens plus 120, Cleveland plus 145. It is close, Jason. Before I let you go, what do you anticipate for Baltimore this season? What are the chances they get to 10 wins, given the 17-game season we're going to see? And also John Harbaugh, where are we at with him coming into this year?
John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think he's established that. He's clearly the leader of this operation in every way, shape, and form. He has the explicit faith of the front office and, more importantly, owner Steve Bisciotti. I think with the Ravens, their season's going to come down to a couple of elements. Are they more effective, more efficient in the passing game in critical situations with the season on the line if a team will bracket and take away Mark Andrews the way that their prominent tight end, the way we've seen teams do in the playoffs? On the other side of the ball, I actually think the offense is going to be ahead of the defense. Wink Martindale's a hell of a coordinator. He schemes up some amazing stuff, but there is a glaring lack of proven pass rush on this team. And when they face the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, are they going to be able to get pressure with 4 or 5? Because if you have to bring the house against him, you tend to get burned. That's what's happened when they faced Kansas City in the past, and people around here will be waiting to see what it looks like should they get an opportunity to try to get past the Chiefs in January.
Our senior NFL insider at Ravens camp, and then we'll be at the Bills Friday and then the Steelers over the weekend. Jason, certainly appreciate it, and we will be checking in with you throughout the weekend. Pick Six Podcast will have you covered as well. Of course, Aaron Rodgers dominating the NFL headlines. Talked to the media on Wednesday, opened up about his offseason and future with the Packers. Will Brinson with Cody Benjamin on that and more. Xavier Howard, of course, wanting out of Miami. Download and follow them today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.